Every single time EDG has faced SKT in this tournament, I feel like their pick and ban phase has improved. Group stage, Edward Gaming got crushed. Game 1, I think they split, and I think last game, Edward Gaming was able to come out on top with a bit of a surprise and read on SK Telecom. Now's the chance for SKT to kind of bounce back in the pick and ban.
That's the thing, we talked about how SKT's comp in the last game was just so hard to pull off, because if you didn't get to the carries with Wolf and his ulti on Leona, you couldn't simply take them down, and that didn't work for him.
One of the big reasons we saw Wolf had, what was it, 8 deaths last game?
Also seeing easyHoon then try to just pick up the Orianna was also different, not something we thought would have come out of Champion Select. Let's get to the bans now for Game 3, guys. We're already almost to Edward Gaming's final ban.
So SKT here trying to put Edward Gaming in a bit of a dilemma here. Do you want to now ban Rek'Sai? Do you want to ban Urgot instead? Whichever is an option for us to first pick. Azir as well is open, and with Cassiopeia being banned away, that is a legit early pick that you can take for someone like easyHoon in the mid lane. So I feel like there are a few good options for them. Rek'Sai would be the one we would expect if you look before the series even started. For Pinky here, again, it's the #1 jungle pick for him.
But now they can control the Maokai. I mean, it's not to be understated how effective Koro was on Maokai. It was 6, 1, and 20 in that last game. Super hyper tank, and they can combo the things that they won with last game. They're putting the emphasis on SKT to then adapt to what EDG just did last game.
Seeing as easyHoon mainly plays these big team fighting mages that sits back, not all in champions, running so much engage, especially guaranteed lockdown with the Maokai and then even a flash tables from an Annie, is going to make it very tough for easyHoon in the fight, because you know he's going to sit back there, you know he's going to be open for these engages. So Edward Gaming is really drafting against easyHoon very much.
If SKT goes with this, it's something they played a lot of over in the LCK. It's their mid-game, dragon-focused move speed composition that gets picks. They have been very successful running this team composition.
They have. It is a comp though that really requires them to control the early to mid game, because once you go late game, now that you're also running Rek'Sai, not a Nunu to buff up this AD carry, your main damage source is the Sivir, and Maokai is just so good at itemizing against that AD carry and sit in front of him. Sejuani can come in for clear up as well, and you still have this double massive front line for Edward Gaming. Can even run Nunu if they want themselves with the Jinx. So SK Telecom are really looking to get early dragons and close out this game. We're talking 35 minutes at max 40 for them. Otherwise, they're really going to run out of damage compared to what EDG is going to be building up here.
I was going to say, he blind pick a Cassidy for himself. Is the Nunu the lock-in? Huge upgrade for Jinx there with the Blood Boil as well. They could be crushing down turrets if they get the right map positioning, and EDG shows quite the composition already. Final pick for Pawn here after SKT finalizes.
And there are a few reasons for this Nunu pick for EDG. One, of course, you buff up the Jinx. That's fantastic. You can even go with Zia as a last pick, who also benefits from the Blood Boil. But the vision control Nunu brings against a composition that has to create picks by catching you out is so big for EDG.
And the fact that we're going to be seeing a lot of Dragon contests this game. That's the way that SK Telecom is going to try and snowball this one. I really wonder here what Marn is going to use as his top lane pick. He is not a Lulu player. That is a mid lane Lulu for easyHoon. 99% chance right here. And normally SK Telecom wants to run this with a Maokai because it creates picks and can be that big tank lane. A Rumble here does completely change the complexion of this team comp.
The thing is, they feel like they need more damage in their comp because they're against double tank, because they only have a Sivir with a Lulu buff. The problem is, once again, you run with a single tank. That's the Rek'Sai against a Jinx and Azir, which is what I would guess at least would want to be the pick, also with the Nunu earlier being locked in. So there's so much damage from EDG in the backline that Rek'Sai won't do anything on his own. And SK Telecom, once again, they rely on mid-game picks and fights around the Dragon. If EDG can keep wards down to it, spot where SKT is coming from and not be caught out, and just play somewhat passive, honestly, get to 2 items on Azir and Jinx, they're going to be more than fine.
The team fight potential with the double tank and then the double damage dealers of epic proportions there in Azir and Jinx is a tremendous team fight composition. Then you look at SKT, they have won with this before.
Yes.
Save for the Rumble right here. Another incredibly fascinating pick and ban phase right here, because you can tell that SK Telecom has a strategy in mind, and Edward Gaming keeps throwing some kind of wrench into it and breaking it up a little bit.
Seeing as EDG has struggled around dragons in the past, and that they tend to be caught out if they try and go in clear vision, I can definitely see why SKT want to draft this comp here and say, we're going to see if you have learned anything. We're going to see if we can keep catching you out, because we know you tend to play a bit too far forward when it comes to fighting around the map. And that's what they're building for completely.
Well, we've seen one game go the way of SKT, completely in their favor. EDG made SKT walk to the beat of their drum in game 2. A lot of people on social media for that game were wondering why EDG didn't close it out faster. I think they just gate themselves with Barons and then they win the game. It's obviously their prerequisite. You see the coaches shaking hands here as we get ready to enter into game 3. You know the drill as well at home and here at the arena at LOL eSports with either hashtag SKT win or hashtag EDG win. We'll be counting up those votes and sharing the results shortly. As Grandpappy Riv the First would always say, we are on the rift.
Right on.
Where are you guys? Where'd you go? We're gonna start this one off. Let's see what they got for each other. SKT walked themselves into a pretty bad fight last time as EDG was able to meander through the top side of the jungle, get themselves into great positioning.
Yeah, the strangest thing about the last invade was that EDG was spotted out completely by a ward, and then SKT decided to go in again. That was also a slightly different lane matchup where Deft didn't necessarily want to be in a 2v2 lane. Jinx and Sivir have an interesting 2v2 matchup here that they're willing to lane against because of the Dragon emphasis in this game.
Right, so yeah, a few things for SKT here. First of all, Ruby Crystal for Marin in the top lane. That's what you do if you expect a one-on-one against Maokai and you want a very early haunting guys when you go back, so you can once again start fighting around these early dragons and you can become a bit of a bully in that lane with early magic penetration. At the same time, as you just said here, you want to keep your bottom lane on the bottom side of the map so you have that control around it. What they normally do with Lulu mid is they try and push the wave as often as possible, and then you have EasyHoon who can whimsy himself to start roaming between the lanes and start catching up people with Bengi on this Rek'Sai here, and that's how you start creating picks already from the laning phase.
And it's actually EDG going with a lane swap here. I wonder whether or not Clearlove can do enough to contain Bengi in the roam game. That was a late swap back right there for EDG. They showed the defensive lines in the normal place, realized there weren't going to be any lane scouting wards, safely recalled, and then they have come back here. This is going to be revealed as soon as the lane swap happens, but outside of that, SKT is expecting normal lanes right now.
You guys were saying very safe with that line of scrimmage in wards right along the river. Now with SKT getting that knowledge at the top lane, I believe they did just see Deft walk out.
So because there's no wards for SKT to try and spot what's happening at level 1, and they were most likely expecting standard lanes, they're not sending in Wolf to check the blue buff of EDG, which means Clearlove has been able to start on the weak side, that means the opposite side of where your dual lane is going, and get the blue buff so they don't risk Wolf suddenly walking in, start harassing them and trying to poke them away and completely take over the bottom side of the map. And what EDG has done before as well is then they place early wards and try and get a Rift Scuttler near this dragon to see if anything is happening. Bengi didn't get it. So Clearlove has managed to get some control on the bottom side of the map. Got the blue buff as well. You can see Bengi moving there because for him to go his own blue buff can be risky now, seeing as there are two members on the top side from EDG that can go down and try and stop him.
It was just that entire guessing game that EDG was able to win right there. You expect with the defensive line wards and the anti-Jinx being a pretty good lane 2v2 up against Sivir Thresh to go for that lane swap. It's a strategic move that mainly has the element of surprise, but surprise they did, and now they have a real chance of 3-buffing Bengi.
Also have a real chance of getting some of those early kills that they love. They have the Wolf Spirit, however, and they are seeing.
This is dangerous.
Going to get a little bit of pressure from Bengi. Smite fight coming out both. Actually, Bengi's is down here from that Wolf Spirit, as we just saw, so not really a smite fight, but still going to try and pressure their buffs. That Ignite is pulled out of some kill pressure from Mako's lane. Flashes, however, are being burned, and SKT are again finding themselves quite down in the beginning of the fight. Pawn and EasyHoon going 1v1 here as we just got to waltz over to the right, and they both have to flash. No, one summoner spell, sorry, on Pawn's side. EasyHoon has to flash.
I very much disagree with Koro teleporting into this blue buff here. He had a free lane in the bottom lane, one-on-one against the Sivir. Same level, you can see the wave down here is even. And he'd already picked up 11 CS, sitting there nicely. He joins in to push them away and try and get a first blood. Let's see what happens now though, because he needs to get something, otherwise he's lost a lot from teleporting out of this lane.
Yeah, they already had the teleport bird from the Rumble, and now everyone's deciding to party up here. Nobody cares about the bottom lane.
All right, we're going to see who can come out of this one better now. It's pretty much making those adaptations mid-game here. We're only 5 minutes in, and we really don't even have lanes just yet. Koro and Pawn still in the mid lane now as he's low on mana. They need to stop these from going right into the turret. Bang is going to try to make that happen immediately, though. And what pressure here coming in from SKT after that jungle invade from EDG.
SKT needs to send someone bottom lane because...
Immediately. There's a three-wave stack down there.
Yeah, what Bang did was the wave was pushing towards him and he just left it there and roamed to the mid lane because he wanted to see if he can join for some of the action. This also means Koro is losing out on so much farm because all these minions have killed a few waves. Now Bang will return down. I think he only lost maybe one or two of the melee ones, so he's gonna get most of it and losing a cannon as well. So he will lose some of the farm. But the main thing for him is because Koro teleported away from this lane, he's not been getting a bigger lead over Marin, who was stuck up here in the 1v2 early on. He now has help from the Thresh and he can start picking up some farm. EDG putting so much value on a single blue buff.
Great job pretty much all around. Figured Bang would be down in CS. He picked up enough and still equaled out to Def farming in the top lane. Still just about even in gold as well, so really a lot of summoners and a whole hoopla for the early part of that game.
Yeah.
Not to get too much.
It ends up being kind of even. Although EDG had the opportunity to pull an experience advantage, they just would have had to give the blue buff over, which would allow Bengi maybe some control over that side of the map. But even so, I'm completely on Officio's side right here. Koro could be so far ahead in this game right now, but instead he is just equal with Marn and going with that double thorns. But Clear Level will continue to try and do this invading Nunu. They're potentially falling behind her. They've sacrificed a lot of time in order to try and pull off some of these buff invades.
Standard Nunu start with the early side stone, and with them pushing the top lane, one of the reasons EDG did it, first of all, they obviously came late into the lane, so they couldn't build up the freeze at first, but it was also to see if they could force SK Telecom to send someone like Wolf up onto the top side and help Marin. That meant there was no dragon pressure for SKT on the bottom side, so Clearlove has been able to ward it up and keep it warded for the entire early game and make sure no early dragons are going down. But now both top laners picking up quite some farm in these lane swaps here. Wolf is down on the bottom side now.
Pawn almost finding himself in a three-pronged attack from the mid lane, but it looks like they're going to get a rotation towards the top side here. Mako just on the backside of Deft. Going to force him out of that. They're still going to follow with the stun, the flash, and entry. Marin overheats at the beginning of the fight and adds some good damage to Deft, but they are going to follow up with a bit of rocket damage here, winning that trade.
I almost feel like Mako thought that Deft still had his chompers. That's the only reason you would flash for CC if you thought you could chain it, but instead he just burns his flash and the rest of the SKT lane walks away and his ignite. So that's a lot burn for not that big of a game. Maybe they try and dive him now. No ignite. Push him off the turret at least.
Oh, Mako grabbed the aggro. Marin could go down here. Looks like Mako makes it out alive. Bengi is trying to do what he can to keep that aggro onto Clearlove and in range. And it is not going to be enough. One last caster minion. He is low, but he is not dead until he gets a snowball to the face coming in from Clearlove. Pawn getting towards the top side. Gets himself out alive as he chugs the potion.
That dive was so beautiful. EDG knew exactly what they were doing. Mako tanked the tower at first. Stayed got the last hit, and then Clearlove eats a minion, so he takes another hit, and he stays there. And that's enough for Dev to get a second hit in onto Bengi, and in the end he goes down to Clearlove. Let's see this again here. This is so well played. Look how they are tanking the tower and they're keeping full control of it. Mako takes another one before he steps out of the tower. Then you look at Clearlove. He eats a minion, can take another hit. That one hit is enough for Def to hit Bengi another time, and then Clearlove can finish him.
Flash snowball at the end. Like you said, Officio, perfect execution. EDG is the turret diving team. They specialize in that when they're
I mean, they're Chinese.
able to get aggressive.
They have to tower dive.
It's such an accelerated game. That's one of the main things that can create conflict and strategy in those ones. Wow, ultimate burn by Marn, so now he can't stop the dive. Mako's Annie is everywhere.
Another game. Will they keep focus on Marin, the lantern from Wolf? We saw it happening yesterday, and it could really start to thwart EDG's game.
His ultimate. He's going to try.
Get him out.
Is he going to try and snipe? He would have been low enough, but he decides not to.
Teleport back to the top lane, so Koro does not miss any of this. Well calculated there. A full wave to him as it comes in on that siege. And we'll have now Bang backing in the top side. That much gold. He's going to spend it out, get an Avarice.
So EDG making up for that early teleport here. Koro has now been just sitting and farming in the lane while they went up to dive onto Marin. He lost a lot of minions on the tower, went down for it as well. First Dragon, EDG has kept control on the bottom side, and they just kept pushing aggressively on the top, trying to pull as many members from SKT up there as often as possible. They are playing this early game very, very well, and SK Telecom needs to show they can react now and adapt to what's going on, because the early start they were supposed to have with this comp is not there.
And the only thing that could have gone better for EDG is if the double kill didn't go over to Nunu. Clearlove won't be able to translate that into the damage. You really want the two carries of this EDG team to grow, but they will grow naturally as long as they can keep this farm even. The fact that SK Telecom can now only get their first dragon roughly 16 minutes into the game, that's the whole way that they win the game, is by controlling dragons, especially with this Sivir-Lulu synergy, and they are well behind the curve for doing so.
The only good thing about these early kills for Clearlove is he can go for like Warmock's armor very early, buff that up with the Cinderhulk, and he has such a high amount of HP that a Lulu and a Sivir simply cannot take him down. Again, Lulu is gonna really start falling off in terms of damage because she's obviously using her shield on the AD carry. And we have seen Clearlove get a quarter kill at like what, minute 6, gets 4 kills on a Nunu.
But they lost that game.
They did, right? That's true. But he was very tanky,
he was super tanky.
That's what we're trying to prove here.
Yeah, basically.
All right.
Clearlove for kills.
He was tanky. He was,
there you go.
Got it. 2-0 as we start this one. easyhoon gets the blue transfer over as he now tries to give it to Pawn in the mid lane. Not the blue, but the aggression. They still have ignites up there, so we could see a little bit of kill pressure. Also coming in from easyhoon. They can use that wild growth effectively. Marin looks like he finally gets some free time in the top lane, but it won't be for long. He's trying to make up for that 30 CS behind. Bengi's here to help. Let's see how this goes. The equalizer down on Koro. Clearlove says peekaboo, comes out of the brush, an absolute zero charge up, and a knockdown.
Where's the fourth?
He's gonna lock it up.
Can he get the fourth? Come on,
here
Clearlove.
it comes. It'll do it. He's tanky enough. Gets popped up. There's the flash, and they may not have the chase. Arcane Smash coming in from Koro.
Snowball.
There it is. Oh, he gets the fourth one. Snowball to the back of the head of Bengi.
Clearlove on a rampage, but specifically because that was a great counter gank right there. Whoa! Way commits!
Holy moly, Wolf flying in once again, trying to mark that territory. Def says, no way, Jose. And easyhoon's going pretty hard now. Bang, very low. easyhoon, however, takes the zap. Is it?
Oh, no, easyhoon!
He throws it himself. Going to be enough. And Mako and Def try to follow this one. They can't serpentine through the minions quick enough. easyhoon's safe.
Everything's starting to fall apart right here from SKT. All 3 lanes suffering damage at this point.
One of the worst
First, it
things.
starts in the top lane. Second, easyhoon's roaming down early, which makes Wolf overcommit for that. They miss all their skill shots. They click on the wrong people. And EDG, with this pressure and aggression, is making SKT make mistakes.
And this is really where SKT struggled in the semifinal as well. When they tried to match the early aggression, let's see what happened here. Bengi does stay alive, but in the bottom lane, we saw Easy when he tried to push his wave and then roam down with the Whimsy, as we mentioned with this Lulu. But the engage from Wolf was just way too early. He walks in pre-level 6 as well, trying to land a hook right in front of Deft and Mako. And like Thresh, when he winds up the animation here, you have so much time to react, honestly, for EDG and just instantly blow him up.
Yeah, he is a Moby Boots Thresh as well, so the Annie can almost one-shot him alone at level 6. The best that comes out of that is they trade 1 for 1, but they end up losing 2 for 0. And carry Clearlove with the 4 kills, but the rest of the team is pitching in right now too with that bottom lane.
It's always one of the annoying things when you play Thresh. You feel really tanky in the early game as well, but then you realize you have to pick up these souls here to really start getting some armor. So once you do trade, you're not really that beefy, and Deft takes a very easy kill from that one. 6-0 first Dragon. And SKT, by the way, as we have said, is running a composition that doesn't want to go late game.
Right, really time working against them on this.
Big force, 5 people bottom lane.
Pawn also over the wall with shifting sands. It's right onto Koro. They're looking to lock down the bottom lane, though. He almost tried to walk past Bengi. They definitely have their eyes on Bang and on Wolf for that bottom lane. They don't get what they want. They're going to back out. Minute and a half onto Dragon here. It doesn't look like they can actually get too much out of this now that they've missed out on the opportunity. Mid lane's going to get pushed in here by EZHoon. Actually, some breathing room for SKT. Unfortunately, they will lose the buff, and Marin takes that top turret.
Basically just a turret trade right there. SKT trying their best to hold off on any real conflict unless they have a big numbers advantage in the fight. They do have a numbers advantage in this fight until Pawn gets here.
Here's EZHoon. Nice glitter lance to slow down the 3 members of EDG. Don't have too much vision in this brush, though. SKT's blind there. Cannot go into it with Clear Love having his ultimate up.
It's pretty tanky Nunu.
Yeah, pretty tanky.
Hey, 4 kills. Good for you, Clear Love. Good for you. Let's see what he builds in this game. I mean, Lockett, against double AP, especially against a Rumble, is fantastic. The earlier you get it, the even better for your team. But you can also just be greedy and go for that Warmugs and just run around with like 3.5k HP. Look at the animated carry and just laugh at him.
We also have to remember, again, SKT was up against this against Fnatic all the time, being down in the early game, but still being able to make things happen from 10, even 15, 13,000 gold behind. SKT was still in the game.
Big difference though is Fnatic in those games would run these comps here that really also shine in the mid game. So once we got later on, the gold lead meant less and less because of just the items and the champions you had. Here EDG is running such an insane late game scaling for themselves, having such a big lead. Technically, you should never be able to lose it by now.
Right.
SK Telecom has to create some picks, and EDG has to really make a lot of mistakes for that to happen.
And as far as creating picks, they don't have Maokai or any real home guard teleport threat. So much of the pressure is put onto Wolf to land a death sentence, but he is extremely far behind once again. At that point, Bengi has to tunnel in to find something. It is really hard for SKT to actually create those opportunities that they need to in order for their composition to succeed. The Maokai picks that Koro has taken away from Marin have been so crucial in disrupting SKT's game strategies.
We figured that would be the easy fight that they would get. They'd have a very tanky Marin, be able to go into anything, and right now they are being pushed into fights that they never want. Super Mega Death Rocket comes in, but it's a 5-0-0 Clear Love now. Deft on the outside, what a flash to get out of that hook, but he's gonna meet Marin as well on the backside. The rest of the team is coming in. Deft is gonna live. Marin actually can't go back in the fight. Pawn grabs one towards the bottom side as well. Tell me he's gonna kill Marin now. No, it's actually gonna go over to Mako, and now Bang's getting chased down by Pawn. The blue buff's only giving him so much mana, and he cannot follow under the turret. Now that EDG has all of SKT down, they're gonna get Dragon, and with this composition, the second they set foot near a turret, that's gonna fall too.
Everything is just working for EDG. They had so many wards in the jungle of SKT because they've been so far ahead already that they could see Bengi move around. They get a pick onto him first, and what often happens in these games where there's so much action and it's very one-sided, the team who was behind us had to use all these flashes before, so once a big team fight is there, well, obviously they don't have anything. While we saw Dev just flashing around, he's staying alive. Cleared off.
He's worth a full bounty. 500 gold to the killer.
Run!
But can they kill him?
Ooh, going over to Bang there. Definitely much needed. His first kill of the game, and he's sitting on some scraps right now for Recipe.
It's also this terrible habit Bang has of going extremely early Avarice Blade when he's behind. He needs immediate combat power because the team is going to force on him. This happened in the Fnatic series as well, where he actually built Avarice Blade as his first item. This one's a little bit better because he does have the pickaxe, and he was able to pick up the 500 gold, but it just allows EDG so much more power early game. He could have used that Avarice Blade gold to save up for a BF and have some reasonable power in these mid-game team fights.
It's when AD carry basically say, I give up on the early game, I give up on the lane. I just have to look towards 2 items now where I can start being useful, and that's why they do it. But he's sitting on about 2,000 gold, so that will be the BF sword at least completed for him. Still not there for the vintage. That's the first pick on Bengi though.
Yeah, and this is the fight we just saw where EDG picked up so many kills, and a lot of it was just because SKT was behind. Coral still had his summoner spells to chase things down, whereas EDG had their summoner spells generally to escape. Then the miracle of the day, Wolf having a really unfortunate 2 games here. Tons of miss Leona things. He misses his flay there that could have secured the kill onto Deft's Jinx. And then, of course, Clear Love, the unkillable until a few seconds ago. was able to close it out with that absolute zero.
EDG again starting a fire very early in the game under the feet of SKT.
It's a nice little trap for Marin here.
I think they got Deft. It looks like they will have him. Do the retribution kills come through? However, Mako takes that aggro way too early, and this starts to backfire. Clear Love just coming back from going down. Looks like he will find the same fate just shortly after. We are going to have Pawn coming up. Actually, Koro coming down from the bottom side of this as well with the Righteous Glory on. Pawn is only steps away now. If they can get that Blood Boil back in this fight, it will be very helpful. And Koro is actually going to use that to take down Wolf.
That was a very, very aggressive play from EDG that SK Telecom were ready for Marin, waiting in the bush, getting a bot lane tower as well. So they will get some gold. There's 5k difference at the moment in favor of EDG, but at least some kills. And SK Telecom, again, it's one of the ways to get back, where you start setting up a few traps, you try and punish EDG if they make a play. Simply, I mean, it's going to be risky. It might also be one way SKT go for it and simply just end up dying because they are so far behind, but you need to try. You cannot just sit back and wait.
That last one was super clever, though. Marin waiting up there was not what they expected, especially since you'd think SKT would be much more scared about being caught, but they're very knowledgeable about what will happen in the very late game, so they're willing and are taking these necessary risks to try and make things happen. By the way, during the long replay, Pawn did kill Wolf once again, only accelerating that Azir into the later game.
And we can see with this advantage, EDG warding is now on the up and up again. We talked about it a little bit before. They're already starting to pink and ward up Baron. That side of the map looking like a light bright almost for them. And much security needed to make sure SKT can't come back with a big objective fight. Dragon still some time before it comes up. That's not really going to gate EDG for trying to find more aggressive fights.
And Marin is doing the same again here, where he delays the Hourglass by going for Abyssal Scepter as the first item, or second item after the Haunting Guys. And what he's basically trying to do is have as much damage as possible, I guess, when you try to snipe the back line, and then also to try and avoid some of the poke coming in from an Azir. The problem is, you still only have that Rek'Sai in the front line. You need that Hourglass to be there with him. Tilla, though, let's see what he can do.
A lot of dedication to this fight now that SKT has used that on the hunt. They have, however, have to use that to get out of this fight, as EDG is able to close in way too quick.
It's the same again though. SK Telecom, they keep setting up small traps around the map. This time it was the Baron. EDG, normally when you're so far ahead, you don't expect the enemy team to sit and wait for you. We'll get surprised a few times. Nobody died this time here. Philip, he's very tanky.
Yeah, it's potentially about EDG waiting on some Dragon timers, but they've been known to be a little bit impatient, and they have the capability of forcing.
SKT staying power in numbers now. We are going to see Wolf back, so they may start to back a little bit themselves. You can see Bang heading towards the bottom side here. A minute on to Dragon. On. Items ahead already. 2 items in inventory.
Yeah, it's a little bit ahead. A full death cap over Easy Hoon.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And there's really nothing to stop him on the side of SK Telecom.
Yeah. They need to basically have Pawn sitting on top of an equalizer while they have him in a death sentence. Wolf continually in trouble.
Thought he had enough safety at least with Easy Hoon being there. Pawn getting in with the Flash Emperor's Divide to throw Easy Hoon right back into the fray. Double kill for death.
And immediate pings onto the Baron after they're able to get those picks. Pawn flashing for the Emperor's Divide, gets him back right there. Basically just using what's got them here, and now just zoning out the choke points. If anything tries to steal this, it would be Rek'Sai with the Rumble ultimate once again.
EDG absolutely on a tear here once again coming into game 3. They have lost no momentum from game 2, and SKT has not found the way to adapt yet.
And they finally got to move around the map and not walk into a trap. Saw that SKT adjust position normally, and then they instantly just go down, force a fight on them, get 2 kills, gives the Baron as well. Bang, it's not going to do a whole lot of damage with the Boomerang. Another Dragon for EDG coming up. SKT is around. There's a flash coming in.
Gonna have to take the fight. If the fight is right on top of your head, they take down Bengi immediately. And that timer that SKT was looking for has pretty much run out for this composition to turn on. EDG on fire here as they grab Dragon number 3. 15 kills into this game and a 7,000 gold lead.
And EDG, aside from just having that great draft phase, in our opinion, because of the late game scaling, it's the way Clearlove played in the early game. There was that interesting moment when Koro tried the teleport for the blue buff at the start of the game, but if anything, that splits and makes sure Bengi can't snowball any of the lanes. Because if we look at these lanes individually with Rumble, Lulu, and Sivir, they're not doing anything without the assistance of Bengi. So when Clearlove shut him down, the rest of EDG could use their skill to take over.
Oh, he flashed on the lantern, but he could not get it because everybody also huddled around the campfire. Bang goes down. Wolf, they're just trying to stop EDG from getting any closer here. Throwing a few deterrents, but EDG is not really worried about anything they're facing at this point. The Wolf Spirit's gonna find him out. They easily are able to take down the blue buff here, and this is where we gotta see EDG start putting their foot down. SKT wants to do the same.
So tanky.
They may find themselves a fight they don't want. Marin overheats right in the middle of it. Vengeful Maelstrom is just completely stopping hardly any damage from hitting Clearlove. Deft in a bad spot, flashed into the pit by himself there, and he's almost staying alive. It is Marin that's going to be able to take him down, but SKT has lost 3. Now 4 members in the quadra kill for Pawn. Bang's the only one that's not there.
We keep seeing SK Telecom just trying to get a few picks or a few kills here and there to try and get back in the game. They know how far behind they are, and EDG just has so many ways they can play this game out. They have great siege, honestly, to take down towers with Azir and Jinx. They have a Maokai who can just push down a lane on his own, teleport in behind for a flank if he wants to. There are multiple ways for EDG to play out this game.
And at this point, there is just no damage coming out of the SKT team since they've fallen behind. EZHoon doesn't even have his second major item. Bang did just finish his Infinity Edge, but that's at the point that we're seeing 3,000 health on multiple tanks for the EDG side, not to mention the locket for any equalizer damage that would be coming in to hit the team. Everything going in EDG's favor.
This fight once again, Deft actually was staying alive here.
You can see what SKT is thinking, because 2 guys from EDG is coming back from the base. So it's only 3 guys for EDG, but they're still so tanky with the Nunu Maokai, and Def does have good damage already. And once he goes down, well, the next guy just enters with even more damage, honestly, and ends up cleaning house. Clearlove and Koro still staying alive. Koro barely took any damage, just healed most of it up here. So there's simply just no damage coming out of Bang. And also Marin, with his build, the fact he can't stay in the front line with Bengi, even had it been like even in gold or somebody even here, it would have been very hard for SKT to play these fights unless they get the correct pick onto one of EDG's carries.
Bengi getting hit up by most of the team of EDG. It looks like Pawn's gonna be able to stick with him here. Shifting Sands, able to save, oh, he goes down! A little bit of a burn there. And Pawn able to get some attacks in as well. Great chase, follow-up, and kills coming from EDG. We saw it with SKT's composition coming in, and they knew it as well. They were on a timer, but it seemed like EDG just had that in their mind.
They're going for Deft once again. He's a little bit out of position.
Taking control of that advantage. Whoa, Deft goes down very, very early. Trying to reassess the fight. SKT knows that's all that they can get here. We're gonna have Bengi in just a few seconds. His teleport is up, but he has no way to get to the fight to help his team. Pawn now probably gonna take down Wolf before he can even get onto the stairs of his base. And Clearlove is just 2v1ing, so the rest of the team can still come along with him. He's got the Iron Elixir already on, almost unkillable. And Pawn's able to pick up another one, 8-0-5 on Azir now.
They've been able to pick out Deft on a few occasions, but then you can clearly see the rest of EDG coming in for the kill because they just have that massive lead. And what I want to talk about now is whether or not SKT brings in Faker for the next game. Because the way Pawn has been able to play this Azir and Cassiopeia and banning the other champion, EZHoon's champion pool being stretched here a little bit, maybe they have to play a more accelerated style. Unless EZHoon is on Cassio or Azir, he has been unable to dominate these games. And they're going to be 1 game away from elimination here.
It would remove the LeBlanc ban they've been using. SKT normally ban LeBlanc themselves when they have EZHoon in there, and then obviously teams ban it against Faker.
Right.
Typically, we saw Fnatic leave it open yesterday and try and trade certain other picks for it, but that could be one of the changes you want to make. Try and get a bit of a playmaker in there. EZHoon, though, when it comes to playing these standard mages like Azir and Cassiopeia, should be the better pick, so it might not even be the solution. I'm more looking at Maokai and Annie that EDG have been using so well to create these fights and always engage on SK Telecom. What they seem to be weak against is this unexpected hard engage that tends to come, and they don't know how to react in time unless they've pre-planned the whole thing and they predict where you're going. The Annie from Mako offers this hard engage instantly onto them. He goes for the talisman as well to buff up the team. I think that's one of the things you have to target and remove.
If you're even an eye shot of EDG, you're caught. The Talisman of Ascension along with the Righteous Glory is something they go for immediately. Like you're saying with that Maokai and Annie. Once again, the Talisman of Ascension burned out there. Righteous Glory, if they even need it to keep on the follow. And at Pawn coming up with another kill as he flashes forward with his soldiers. And they're going to have to get off of that cooker. The red carpet's laid out, but EDG wants none of it. And they're just going to be able to start pushing here. They're fighting in between turrets. And SKT can't really give anything back to him. Easy Hoon gets knocked back by Emperor's Divide. That's going to be Koro picking up a kill. And EDG are now 2 turrets deep, diving SKT in their base. 28-5, 30 minutes in.
EDG doing whatever they want at this point. The SKT forced to surrender. There was no way they're coming back there.